spoke to Chris Bass last night. I met with him and Lee Dixon, and Chris is gutted. He wanted to continue. I think there's a little bit more to it as well, but that's up to the FC Isle of Man board and everyone else to sort that one out. But last year was incredible crowds. This year the crowds are probably down 1,000 per game, which affects their income stream. But there's certainly something there that needs to be sorted out, and it's unfortunate that Chris has gone and Paul Jones is going to take over. Is he capable of doing that job? Yes, he is, because he's managed the national side. So we'll just wait and see what comes out in the next couple of days.
You're saying reduced crowd numbers, more pressure on then, I suppose, the directors of FC Isle of Man to have the right manager in charge. Rob, what's your take on all this? Were you surprised by that last night?
A little bit so. I think in today's footballing game, if there are results that aren't going the right way, a lot of scrutiny comes onto the manager initially. I mean, if you look at Chris Bass's record this season, 7 out of 21 games he's won so far, so exactly a third. And the actual record, 5 wins, 2 defeats, and 5 wins, 2 draws, and 10 defeats, I should say, compared to 4 defeats all of last season. Now, Chris Bass and the club have made no secret of it that it's been a real challenge this year, a real step up in quality in this division that FC Isle of Man are having to take a bit of time to get used to. You've got to remember that FC Isle of Man don't have the luxuries that other teams in this division have in terms of bringing players in, whereas other clubs across the water, for example, may be able to get players from the same tier or even higher if the actual situation's right. FC Isle of Man are dipping into usually the youth of the of Manx football, as it were, and it takes time to get them used to this system of football. And yes, there was the 3-1 defeat, of course, on Saturday at home to Northwich Victoria, but before that they'd gone 3 games unbeaten. That was their best unbeaten stretch so far in the season. There was a bit of a feeling going around that things were starting to turn in the right direction for the long run. But the club has made the decision, and chairperson Jill Christian has said it is with a heavy heart that this decision has been made. It was a very difficult one, the club says, but they really do thank Chris for all his hard work in time at the club and wishing him all the best for the future. Maybe the club has looked at it and thought if there's maybe a difference in philosophy between Chris and the club going forward for the season, that things could be turned around in a different way. The club might feel that the time is right now to make the change while there's a long way in the season to go, and we'll just have to wait and see how results pan out between now and the end of the campaign.
That leads us to, I suppose, looking forward to the future. Do you see them continuing to improve, or is this going to be a setback, Tony?
I think it's a setback. They can have a look at it again and see what happens. The Isle of Man FA are speaking to Paul Jones on Thursday, where they want to start this development group, and that wasn't really in their remit at the start. I think they've got to remember that there's 26 clubs out there that work hard, and all their players that are playing for FC Isle of Man have come through the Manx football system, so I think they need to take that on board. But it's just a shame, but who else could do it? I remember someone asking me a question when I watched them away, and there isn't anybody there. There's no money paid by FC Isle of Man to players or management, and when you look at all the opposition they're playing, some of the players are earning £700 a week, so it's a real tough order. But is the quality of football that they're playing good? Yes, it is. It's a step way above anything that's played on the Isle of Man.
So Tony, Paul Jones taking over for now. In terms of a more permanent manager later down the line, any kind of names in the pipeline for this? I
don't think it would be a Manx person, and a lot of people say it shouldn't be a Manx person because they always say, someone comes from another club, they've got their favourites. But to me, if they're going to bring a manager in, he's probably going to want some money because speaking to Chris Bass and Lee Dixon last night, they both run their own successful businesses, and financially it's taken a lot away from them because they've just finished training now. Now obviously Chris and Lee haven't been down there, but the amount of hours time that they've missed out on through work is incredible, and I'm sure FC Isle of Man and we all wish Chris and Lee well. Hopefully Lee might come back into it and have second thoughts about it, but when I spoke to him last night, he's pretty raw, so we'll wait and see how it all unfolds in the next couple of days, and it's another big talking point in Manx football.
And Rob, just finally, you've watched and commentated along with Tony on all of FC Isle of Man's home games. How much of a setback will this be? Any kind of unrest surely will have some kind of impact on the players and the fans as well.
You would imagine so, but it's not always that dramatic. It completely depends on the club, and those behind the scenes will have a better idea. But there will certainly be a bit of a transition period. Paul Jones may come in with a few different ideas of how the team sets up tactically going forward. But as Tony's already mentioned, Paul has an intricate understanding of the players and the club already. So it might make that transition smoother in the meantime, just in the immediate term. So I suppose, Paul Jones is in a good position right now to maybe try and steer the ship, as it were, for the next few weeks and months before they look for a permanent replacement in the summer. And in the meantime, well, I suppose we'll just have to see how results go.